Some commercial banks and filling stations have stopped collecting the old naira notes from customers, contrary to the ruling of the Supreme Court restraining the federal government from enforcing the February 10th time limit earlier fixed by the Apex Bank for the currency swap. On Monday indicated that the banks refused to accept the old N1000, N500 and N200 notes from depositors and points of service agents who flooded the bank to load their cash. Points of service operators and other bank customers whose old naira notes were rejected, panicked as bank officials, who said they were acting on the Central Bank of Nigeria's directive, remained adamant. Also, lawyers and litigants at high courts in Lagos State were unable to file their court processes using the old naira notes for payment. As the naira crisis worsened, the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, again met with the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, at the presidential villa on Monday. Emefiele, who had met with the president about 6 times since the naira crisis started, failed to address correspondents as he reportedly left the villa through a side entrance. The governments of Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara states on February 8 secured the order of the Apex Court extending the deadline beyond last Friday stipulated by the CBN for the use of the old notes. A 7-member panel of the Apex Court, led by Justice John Okoro, directed that the deadline be suspended till when the proceedings would continue even as other states had applied to join the suit. But our correspondent who visited the mobile filling station at First Gate bus stop along Lagos-Badagry Expressway observed that the attendants refused to accept the old naira notes on Monday. Checks also showed that banks in the Ikeja area of Lagos State refused to collect the old notes from customers. Some frustrated and desperate customers were seen making frantic calls to their friends and loved ones intimating them of the development. Also in the Badagry area of Lagos, several bank customers and POS agents who visited banks on Monday were shocked to learn that the banks were not accepting the old notes. A Sterling Bank official said banks in the Magboro area of Ogun State had shut down as a result of the scarcity of cash. Findings also indicate that some banks in Abuja, the capital city, have stopped accepting the old notes. Officials who spoke to our correspondent said the policy was in line with a directive from the Apex Bank, noting that they did not know anything about the Supreme Court order. At a Zenith Bank branch located in the Central Business District, customers who had the old notes could not deposit them as officials blatantly refused to accept them. A bank official stated, "We are not collecting old notes again. The deadline was on Friday. The memo I saw yesterday, Sunday, directed that we should not collect N1000 and N500 old notes anymore. We even had to dispatch all our old currency on Friday to the central bank. We obey our regulators, not the Supreme Court." When reminded about the 7-day grace period announced by the CBN governor, she noted, "We don't know anything about it, the deadline has elapsed, and we are working with the CBN." It was also observed that traders, petrol stations and supermarkets were also rejecting the old notes on the grounds that the banks were no longer collecting them. But some filling stations and supermarkets accepted POS and electronic cash transfers during transactions. Last week, the federal government, through its Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, ordered filling stations to accept POS transactions as well as bank transfers from customers in order to ameliorate the effects of the cash crunch in Nigeria. Reacting to the situation, the Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria insisted that the banks must accept the old notes. The national president of the Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, Victor Olojo, who was indignant over the bank's action, asked the CBN to compel them to receive the old notes. He said, "We are calling on the CBN to be more circumspect and they should also observe. They are dealing with Nigerians, we are in our country, we are not third-class citizens. The reality of the matter is that the currency swap has not been effective, it has not yielded any results. So if banks decide to say they are not collecting, it further affects the citizens." Olojo cited the directive of the Kano state government compelling banks in the state to continue to accept the old currencies. He added, the CBN should intervene and call on the banks to do the needful. You are aware that in Kano state and other places, commercial banks are compelled by the state government to work. In fact, small businesses that don't collect old notes are being sanctioned by the state government. So the reality is that the cash swap is not effective. Any further action by the CBN will affect the citizens. We are calling on the CBN to compel the banks to do the needful until we see meaningful results, except we won't are deceiving ourselves. We are not anywhere close to a successful cash swap program in this country. Go to the market today, a lot of the old notes are still in circulation because there are no new notes to exchange for them. Meanwhile, the CBN has said that over N2TN old notes had been deposited by bank customers since it began the cash swap program. According to a CBN document obtained by our correspondent, the N1000 note was the most counterfeited denomination in 5 years. It also revealed that the circulation of fake N1000 rose from 58.45% to 78.5% between 2017 to 2021, making it the most forged note in the country. The document obtained from the CBN showed that fake notes maintained an upward trend, with 58.45% in 2017, 65.9% in 2018, 69.06% in 2020, and 78.50% in 2021, with a reduction of 52.48% in 2019. Also, the N500 and N200 were the second and third highest forged notes, respectively.